Ready? Hello, welcome. All right, this is the next episode of American Made Rock Crawler, and today we're going to be talking with one of my favorite people from Moab, Utah. And in my opinion, I would say when I think off-road recovery, it's kind of become something that's taken off. But when I think about who was there at the beginning, when it really started becoming a thing, I think of you. And you know,
it's funny because a lot of, so it was really funny when I met Matt.
Yeah.
Because everybody associates off-road recovery with Matt. As soon as you say that, everyone's like, "Oh, do you know Matt from Hurricane?" He does. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I do. But like when I first met him, he knew about me from people telling him that there's a guy in Moab doing stuff like this, and I knew about him from YouTube. And so it was very interesting to meet him and put a face to it or whatever. But like, it was very weird because like we went to Hammers that first year, and like the average person that was just there to spectate knew him.
Right.
Everybody in the industry knew me.
Right.
Because I'm doing the recoveries in Moab and
Yeah.
in the shop and all that stuff. And so it was just funny because we were well known in two very different areas.
Yeah.
But doing the same thing.
And he would be the other person I think of that I think when I first remember you talking about it, it was because I think I met you about 10, 11 years ago, and you hadn't opened a shop. I don't remember if you were still working for Steve or not.
So I worked for the old shop.
Yeah.
And you came in and got a steering box.
Yeah.
This is about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It was right when I just moved back to Moab. You came in and got a steering box, and you were like, "My Jeep's broke on Hamburger Hill. I think I can do this." And I was like, "Well, I get off in an hour. If you want a hand, I'll come help you."
Yeah.
And that was when I first met you.
I remember that because I got out there and I started and it was dark. It was late because we had broken in the evening. So we got back to town and got parts. And I remember because I didn't really know anybody in Moab that time. I think I knew Dean. I think that's when I got your contact information. Anyway, long story short, we started taking it apart, like maybe it turned a couple of wrenches, and then I seen your buggy come in. I'm like, thank you. And now I'm pretty confident, a lot better than I was 10 years ago.
See,
but at the time,
you swapped the steering box in the dark.
Yeah. Back then it was like, oh, this is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was a good time. But like I said, is that.
Anyway, back then I remember you, after I had known you for maybe a year or two, and you started working on Moab Motorsports, you talked about the idea of making recoveries a thing. And
so originally when I moved back to Moab, that was my goal. So like helping you out, like that's all I've ever done is helping my buddies get their rigs back off the trail or whatever. That's why my rig always had a welder on it. I always had the air compressor. I always carried all the tools, and I was always invited to go wheeling because Rory will get us out.
Yeah, right.
You know? And so I was living in Colorado, and I was like, man, I should do this for a living in my hometown of Moab. Like, why would you not? And so I was thinking about it, and I actually applied for the job at the shop, working for Steve. And I didn't hear anything for like the longest time. And finally, I actually just went to Moab on a spur and went down and was like, hey, you know, I put in an application, any word? And they're like, oh yeah, it's right here. You know, we'll let you know. And I was like, all right, but I guess apparently showing up like jarred their memory. And they ended up hiring me. And that was my whole idea, was like to go to Moab and work at the shop. And then maybe I could start doing the recoveries on the side eventually, you know, once you get, because you can't just do recoveries.
right.
Like you can't just say, hey, I do off-road recoveries.
Sure.
I mean, you can, but it doesn't work great. Like you don't have any reputation, you don't have a knowledge base yet.
Yeah, you kind of built that reputation up while you were still
Well, it was
doing
like
shop stuff.
The truck was like an extension of the shop because I had the truck and we were kind of using it. And then the shop was going, and so it was like I would go out on a recovery and they were like, hey, is there a shop in town we can take this to? And it was like, turns out there is. Mine, you know, I have a shop. And so that worked out really well. but it's a double-edged sword, because like owning a shop was my dream until I owned a shop in Moab. That's the biggest factor, is in Moab, because you don't get weekends off.
Right.
It's a tourist destination. Everybody's there for a short time, and they're there on the weekend, and they need their Jeep fixed now.
Yeah.
And it becomes very demanding and very over the top. Like, I can't count how many times I got yelled at for not having the right parts.
Right.
Or not having this, or not being able to fix something. And so when the recovery started doing well, and of course when YouTube started taking off and all this, I had to make a decision of keep the shop or focus on the recoveries. And when you show up at a recovery, people are just happy you're there.
Yeah.
They're just happy that you're providing the service, that you're there to help. And so it's a very different paradigm.
Yeah,
Like,
'cause if you tell somebody no, you can't do this, and they're there and they're on vacation, all of a sudden you become the bad guy.
yeah, you are the bad guy. and trust me,
You ruined my vacation.
Oh my gosh, I've heard that so many times. Or the one I love is when they have like some oddball vehicle, and then you
Yeah.
don't have the part, and they're like, I thought this was an off-road shop.
Yeah, you
Like,
only
what?
have Jeep parts.
Yeah, how do you not have, just an unlimited supply in the backyard of parts? And it's like,
Yeah.
I got yelled at once because I didn't have an axle shaft for a Suzuki, that they only offered those axles in 2 years at the Suzuki. And I was like, really? Yeah. But I mean, so that was kind of my motivation, because I love doing recovery. I love it because I love the problem solving. I love you're going into a situation that's kind of unknown. Like, people usually send you pictures, or the fun one is when they don't know how to use their phone to send you a pin. And so they're like, I'm right here. I'm on this trail by this rock. Don't you know the one with the red rock? I'm like, oh yeah, that one. And so it's really fun, but like figuring it out and then getting out there and then going, okay, here's the issue. How are we going to get this vehicle out of this place? Because Moab's very remote, and Moab's you have to stay the trail.
Yeah.
Like Sand Hollow and certain areas are open ride, open use. And so you can just kind of drive next to the trail. I always tell Maddie's cheating. Because like you just drive next to the trail, drop in, get them out, and it's still technical, still difficult, but
Sure.
you have so much more open use. But Moab's like, you have to run the trail, get the rig, and run the trail back.
Yeah.
You don't get to make bypasses, you don't get to do anything. Like, you have to climb whatever they climbed braking. You have to climb carrying them out.
You can't just go off trail to do a recovery. Like, you need
Yeah.
to stay on the trail in Moab, period. So
Yeah.
if you're recovering them, you need to do what they were doing or where they're going.
Yeah, and so it's very difficult. It's very technical, and I have so much fun with that. I love it, and that's why when it was time to decide between recovery or the shop, I was like, recovery.
Yeah.
My wife was not as set on that, but
Well, and I would say at the time that was definitely probably a gamble. To put your chips in.
Yeah.
But you bet on yourself, and it seems like it's working out now.
Well, and owning the business has been a gamble. So I worked for Steve, and then he was going to shut the Moab shop down. And then I worked out a deal to buy the shop from him. I found an investor that would help me do this or whatever. And so then I did that. And it was great for a couple years, but then he was like, the shop's just not making the money that it supports an investor and paying me back and all this stuff, so I'll make you an offer, but you got to buy me out, and then it's yours. And so me and my wife sat down, we thought about it, we said, okay, we're going to do this. We'll go get a business loan. We're going to buy him out. We're going to do all this, and okay, this is our plan. This is our plan. So we go and took out a huge loan and bought the business, and it was ours free and clear January 2020.
Nice.
1 month before COVID.
Then the world shuts down.
And then the world shuts down, and I'm like, so I drove to Salt Lake. I came up here and I got some vehicles that no shop would work on.
Oh, wow.
And hauled them back to Moab, and we worked on them. I went to Colorado and got some vehicles and brought them back just to keep my guys working, just to keep the shop working and keep us doing stuff.
Right.
Because like this was my dream.
Yeah, Moab was like a no-go
Oh,
zone.
it was.
I mean, they were,
town.
and everybody, like they were saying, do not come to Moab, which I kind of understood at the time, but
Yeah.
but it was for business, from a business point, you were.
Oh, it was a killer. Like it killed a couple businesses, and it was absolutely brutal, and it was very difficult for me because like I just fulfilled my dream. I owned my own business, free and clear. It was mine. And I got to call the shots, and I got to do all this, and then the world shuts down, and then it's like, oh no. So we made it through that. We clawed our way out of that. We kept going, and then we had to move a shop, and then we had to move a shop, and then we had, and I just like
I remember that you kept moving.
Yeah, everything that we kept getting ahead, and then something would knock us back, and then we kept getting ahead, and I was just like, whatever. And that's the hardest part with owning a shop is like, so Jeep Safari, you have 100,000 people that come into town in a week and a half, and they all bring in vehicles. You've got 3,000 people registered in Jeep Safari, vehicles registered in Jeep Safari. Then you've got thousands of extra ones. So every year we would order about like $50,000 in inventory for Jeep Safari. Then we'd make enough money to pay it off. For that week, we'd pay it off, and then we would just have inventory for the year. But so every year we were doing this huge gamble of doing all this, and so the hardest part of owning the shop was the overhead, just having parts, because you got to have parts. What if someone breaks? They can't wait 2 days, you know, to get something. So you've got to have parts on the shelf. So now going to the recoveries, like we have a couple parts. I kept some random stuff that we know always breaks, that, you know, you want to keep on hand, but just not having that overhead of, I hope this sells, because that was the biggest thing. Is like, it was, we looked back on our records and it was like, well, last year we sold a bunch of ring gears and a bunch of axle shafts, so let's order all these in. And then nobody breaks ring gears that year. So then you have a pile of ring gears, and you're like, well, maybe they'll break them later in the year, so we better keep these.
Right.
And yeah, it was very eye-opening, and it was very, like, I have nothing but respect for Steve for doing it as long as he did.
Yeah, he did it a long time.
Yeah, so I mean, to keep it going like that every year, it's such a struggle. But I mean, it's a good thing. I loved owning a shop, but man, when I got presented with the option of doing the recoveries full time and kind of leaning into YouTube and shutting the shop down, I was like, I'm all for it. My buddy Mike Nappy, I gave him my entire inventory.
Right.
I even gave him the building. Here you go. Here you go. Have fun.
And now they pay you. I mean, now they're paying you mostly for your service, what you're doing, and you don't have to worry about necessarily the parts. Although I do like it when you come up with some interesting ways of fixing stuff and getting it out of there. I think that's some of my favorite parts about your show.
That's, like I said, that's my favorite thing, is like figuring it out. And that's why the trucks have like welders, drills, grinders, tools. We carry spare metal, we carry spare parts, we carry whatever. So like, can we fix this enough to drag it out, to get it back to a shop where it can be fixed or something? But like, how do we get this out of like Pritchett?
Yeah.
How do you get a vehicle out of Rusty Nail? How do you, like, there's some really crazy technical trails in Moab.
Yeah, I remember one time I called you because I had a buddy with me that broke, and I said, hey Rory, can you come help us? He's like, what trail are you on? Oh, we're on Coyote Canyon. You're like, I hate going up Coyote Canyon to do a recovery.
I didn't like taking the wrecker up Coyote Canyon because it's pretty rough to get the wrecker in there.
Yeah.
but we did it.
Yeah, that you did. That you did.
We went in there, yeah, swapped the steering box in a TJ.
Yeah.
It's always the steering boxes.
Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, like, that's what I love is like, I get such a chuckle out of it when someone calls me and they're like, okay, we're here, but you have to come in this way. Well, why? It's faster to come in. Nothing can come in from that way.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a minute.
Yeah. They start telling you that they think they know better.
Oh, it's
like,
just so
okay.
great. Like Hamburger Hill is that one.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot. Like, well, no, you can't come down. There's like, we broke going up. You just can't come down. And I was like, yeah, gravity's on your side. You'll get to the bottom.
Yeah, right.
Just watch out as I come through. Like, but it's just fun because, like I said, somebody was telling me that the other day. They're like, how bad is it that like somebody comes in Moab and they're wheeling and they're all excited about doing this trail for the first time and they're feeling really accomplished, and then you come through pulling a trailer or dragging a disabled rig out on the same trail. And I was like,
They're just like, okay.
I don't mean to upset anybody, but yeah, I bruise some egos sometimes. But
It happens.
yeah,
It happens.
but I mean, it's just fun because it's pushing the limits. Like that was one of my big motivations for building Trailmater originally. Is someone told me it wouldn't work, and they were like, well, you can't get a full size into where these Jeeps go, and you sure can't carry a rig out of there, like, because they'd never seen it.
Yeah.
So it just couldn't be done because someone hadn't done it yet. So I was like, I want to try it. And like there was there's Eric with BSF Recovery back east. I actually had watched his channel. I'd seen stuff because I was always interested in the towing and recovery stuff,
Sure.
in the off-road stuff. But that's trees and mud. Stuff like that. It's still just technical. It's still a workout. It's not any easier.
No.
But just doing it in the area we do it in is very fun, and it's a challenge. And then it's escalated to where like we've now built vehicle specific rigs because the new adventure bikes are a huge thing.
Yeah.
And we're going to get those all the time. So we actually had to build a dedicated rig to just go get adventure bikes.
That's cool.
And then,
That's cool.
then the side-by-sides. And so, yeah, we built a little truck that can go get the side-by-sides, that can do this. So we're like diversifying our fleet based off of what people are bringing to Moab and breaking.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, the new rigs and the new stuff was very cool. And a lot of them, like, I remember when Mini Mater was still a regular Jeep. And
Still four-door JK.
And I remember I had seen some photos that you'd shown me of Trailmater back when it was just a truck, and it's crazy the transformation where they come.
Right.
But they all work really well.
I love it because when I've had people tell me, they're like, well, I can't do that trail. I have a four-door JK on 37, so I can't do that trail. I'm like, that's a four-door JK on 37s.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, no, that's stretch. I'm like, no, that's stock JKU.
You know what I think that's probably the best part is that it's missing is the corner right here.
Right.
Because mine is like I was talking to some people about it the other day. It's starting to get a little dovetailed on one side.
It's getting pushed in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From smacking that corner.
Those bars don't care as much when you hit them on a rock.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So what's going on? What's new this year? I seen that you're getting into racing a little bit.
So I bought a Class 1 desert race car because I've always driven my stuff too fast. I've actually told people that that's where most of the abuse of my rigs come from. Is Trailmater always has broken leaf springs, broken shock mounts, stuff like that. Because I kind of take my job pretty seriously. So when someone calls me and they're in a panic, then we've got to get out there quick. So I drive way too fast to get out to somewhere to get somebody, but it's also why we built the rigs where they are, to where they're actually riding really smooth.
Or if you go too fast through water, just playing around.
It's happened. Seen it. But like I've never driven anything like I've never driven anything designed to go fast.
Sure.
I've driven slow vehicles fast,
Sure.
and that's always fun. But I was like, you know what? And I found this opportunity to buy this car, and I've always wanted to try it. Like, it's like that would be awesome to do that type of racing. And so I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring and try it. I'm actually gonna try to do a little more of what I want to do. Like, so the We Rock has always been a fun thing that we've done, but I've never been able to hit more than one event.
Right.
So I've never been able to really like place very high, because if you just show up at one event and you do okay, but if you don't show up to 2 events and do okay, you're never very high in the points.
Yeah.
So I would really like to do that, but my main focus at the moment is the race car, and there's a desert race series that runs around Utah. So they do a race in Vernal, Grand Junction, Knowles, and West Window. And I'm going to try to hit a couple of those to see how I do, see if it's something I can do. It's a lot of fun to drive it, but I don't know how it is to drive it in a pack, you know what I mean?
Right, sure.
When you've got people that are chasing you, that are pushing at you, and you're trying to pass somebody, and you're in a cloud and all this, and you can't see anything, like...
That's one of those things you don't know until you know, until you're actually there.
Yeah, and so it's like, you know, that I may be horrible at it, and it just becomes a toy I play with occasionally. I don't know, but I've always wanted to do it. I've always wanted to try it. So that's what this year is looking like. We're going to try to get into the desert racing. Plus, I've got a perfect chase vehicle.
Yeah, perfect.
Like, it's got all the tools, it's got all the everything, and it can pick the race car up. So
cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
So
well,
that's what I'm hoping for.
That sounds awesome. So if somebody's in Moab and they need a recovery, they just call you up, and you're available most days?
Yeah, basically I'm 24/7. I try not to call the guys in on the weekends or the evenings. I try to deal with all that. There's been a couple times where I'm not there. I've got a couple friends that have, that recover side by side and stuff like that. But basically, if you hit up trailmater.com, that has a link for the emergency number, or to call the shop, or to get a hold of me or whatever, and pictures and coordinates.
There you go. Pictures and coordinates.
Pictures and coordinates, very key.
And if right now we're actually interviewing at the Salt Lake Off-Road Expo. It's closed right now, but if you want to meet Rory and you want to pick up some cool t-shirts, he's got a bunch of gear and swag over there that you can buy. The Salt Lake Off-Road Expo, Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo.
Oh, is that?
I was talking to Phil the other day, and he corrected me because it got changed a couple years ago, and I keep forgetting that part.
I didn't know that.
So Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo is this weekend, and starts tomorrow. I think it opens at 11 or 10.
Yeah, I think it's 11.
11.
But we're here every year.
Yes.
We come up here every year for that, and we try to hit a couple events. Of course, we got Matt's off-road games in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Down in St. George, or in Hurricane. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll be basically in Sand Hollow area.
Sand Mountain.
Sand Mountain.
It'll be in Sand Hollow.
I don't know.
But yeah, so we do that one, and then of course Easter Jeep Safari is a huge event in Moab, and it's really funny because people will tell me, they're like, "So you're really busy during Jeep Safari?" And it's like, not really. Like,
yeah, there's lots of people that can help each other.
I love when the big groups are there, because there's the old timers or the people that have been doing it that are like, "Hey, what you need to do is just do this and do that, and you can get this out of here." Or they'll help or jump in and help people. We usually during Jeep Safari, we get calls when it's like, so somebody rolled and the vehicle's completely disabled, and yeah, we got it flipped back on its wheels, but we don't know how to get it out of there.
Can't get it out of there.
Yeah, so that's usually when we get the call. But yeah, like, I love the big events, because that's when people are learning, and I really promote that for people that are getting into the industry or getting into off-roading. to go do events, sign up for a jamboree, sign up for that. Like, go out and learn from people who have been doing it longer. Like, that's the absolute best thing that you can do.
Yeah, I've been supporting the Easter Jeep Safari for probably a couple decades. I mean, basically since I started wheeling.
Yeah.
And I think that it's one of the best events that you could go to if you wanted to get into off-road, learn to off-road. And even now, after I have learned a lot, there's always, you know, something new going on. There's lots of different vendors and people you can meet during the week. I always tell people, so when I used to go back in the day, I would say 15 plus years ago, we used to focus it around Easter weekend. And I actually tell people now that if you really want the best time at Jeep Safari, come in the weekend before and get there for the first of the week.
Yeah.
Because I find some of the best stuff happens in the beginning of the week.
Yeah. But I used to love, like, going out to the vendor show and just talking with everybody, talking about products and new stuff. Like, because I've grown up in Moab, so I've always been at the Jeep Safari. Not always wheeling, usually just walking around the vendor show, annoying all the people selling stuff. Like, what does this do? Why is this here? What is this? You know, but it was always great. But, like, the biggest thing is don't let the name Jeep Safari fool you. It is not a Jeep only event.
No.
It's kind of a Jeep based event because Jeep's been around the longest and all that stuff. But they include everybody: the Broncos, the Toyotas, everything. If it's 4-wheel drive and fits the requirements, you can bring it.
The first rig and pinion I blew up in Moab was in a Toyota.
Was it a 529?
It was not. It was actually a stock one. It was a 410. So
wow. Almost always the Toyota guys break the 529 gears.
And then I had them put a 488 in there after that. But it's because I was full throttling it on a potato salad over and over again.
Oh yeah, that's where I broke my spider gears and my YJ.
Yeah.
It's on Potato Salad Hill. Lots of parts have been broken on Potato Salad Hill.
Yes. Yes.
Allegedly.
Supposedly.
Yeah. Like I said, that's the best part is watching Moab grow from when I was a kid to what it is now is totally different town.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed in the last 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
It's always changing. So it's kind of crazy how different it is. And then when they started putting in like stoplights and the widening the road to the river, it was like, wow,
all the crazy stuff. But it all comes with progress. And I mean, when the town's growing up and you're seeing an influx of people, you've got to do some stuff.
Yeah, it's like
I mean, it sucks because I mean, I remember growing up, it was a big joke because it was always, you know, it's springtime because they're building another motel, and because they were popping up all over the place and it was insane. But then Jeep Safari, you couldn't find a hotel room.
Yeah,
because just so many people would come to town, and it's wild. But I mean, it's a tourist destination, so it's super expensive to live there.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It's home.
Yeah, it's home. It's always been home. It actually took me moving away to realize what it is.
Yeah, I think when someplace gets home, like you grew up there and that's your home. If you want to, you kind of figure out ways to make it work, even though it's hard to live. Sometimes I wonder how, like I have friends that live in like California or stuff, and I wonder how they do it. And it's like, I think when you live there, you kind of understand how things work more than somebody who isn't from there, so you can figure out how to make things work.
Yeah.
Because there's something about like home, you know, your hometown and feeling like, you know.
Well, and I always said, you know, Moab wasn't a great place to be from, but I never wanted to go back.
Right.
I just never wanted to go back there, and then I did move back, and I kind of moved back with a little attitude. I was just like, yeah, it's home, whatever. Oh, look, another red rock, you know, and this and that. And then I broke my buggy out on Helter Bench one night. Because in Moab, as a local, you always wheel at night because it's 100 degrees during the day. Mm-hmm. So you go wheeling at night. Well, then you break at night. So I left my buggy out there because I was like, well, I've got a pitman on at the shop. So I left it there, and then I caught a ride with my buddy who owns a tour company, and I just got a ride with him back out to the Jeep in the morning, and then I had all the tools to fix it. And I had the pitman arm, and riding with him with a tour group and seeing Hell's Revenge through eyes of people that have never been on Hell's Revenge really put it in perspective for me. It was like, this is a really awesome place.
Yeah.
You know? Like, wait a minute. No, this really is. Yeah, that is a cool view. That is awesome. Yeah, look at the snow hills over there and then the red rocks. And then, yeah, this is really pretty. But
Yeah.
it was like, I had to have somebody else experiencing it for the first time to really put it in perspective.
Yeah, I think sometimes we get jaded when we've been in somewhere for a long time and we've seen it so many times. You kind of get jaded and lose appreciation for it. I kind of just figured that out a little bit when I started traveling for one of my jobs, and I'd fly to different cities and stuff like that. And there are things that I absolutely am not a fan about Salt Lake City, but it is home, and like there are some things like when you're in Salt Lake City and you have the mountains and everything, and you're in this valley, like it's totally different. And then if you fly to like West Virginia or even Denver, it's really flat, and I think you lose appreciation for it when you see it all the time.
Yeah.
But whenever I go to Moab, I kind of the opposite, I guess, because every time I go to Moab, I go, this place is just amazing. It is.
Yeah.
It's one of the prettiest places on earth. I think that there's a lot of competition as far as where's the best places to go wheeling, but I always tell people that wheeling Moab can compete with the best places. I'm not going to say what's the best, what's better, but I'll say it's right on top of the list with anywhere. But when it comes to absolute, just a beautiful place, it blows pretty much most places out of the water.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that was the funny thing, because a lot of people have done the whole, Sand Hollow is the new Moab. Sand Hollow is the new Moab.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's another place to wheel, like Moab. But you go wheeling in Sand Hollow, and every trail you run goes up and looks at the lake.
The lake, yeah.
And you have beautiful rocks and beautiful mountains and the lake, and that's it.
Yeah.
You go to Moab and you run a trail and you go up Cliffhanger and you're overlooking the river there, and then you go up on top of the world and you're looking at that, or you go up to Gemini Bridges and you go up Metal Masher and you're overlooking the highway there. Like, everywhere you go is to a destination to see an amazing view.
Yeah.
And it's all different everywhere you go.
One of my favorite spots is right when you get to the top of Rocker Knocker, right when you can see Pritchett Arch, and then you go around the corner and the other arch on the other side.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite spots in Moab. It's just,
Llama Canyon.
Yeah.
That's what we call it.
It's pretty.
Because
So
there's a
awesome.
llama rock right there.
Yeah.
We call that Llama Canyon.
I have to remember that. We were driving to Moab years ago, because me and Felicia actually got married in Moab in 2011. But I was always, I must have been either that trip or a trip around there. I was always joking to her that we need to move out here, and we're like, what are we going to do? I'm like, we're going to buy a bunch of llamas and have a llama farm.
It's a great strategy.
There you go. Sell llamas.
That's actually. There's
I told
actually
her-
a llama farm in Monticello.
Yes. Well, there you go. I told her we were going to name the first llama that we got Floy, because if you're heading to Moab, one of the exits on
Floyd.
I-70, it's Floy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been good talking to you and catching up.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say, but
Must have been important.
it must have been important. Anyway, that was, again, if you need to get a recovery when you're in Moab, Rory's the guy to see. And if you want to meet him, come to the Off-Road Expo or come to Moab for Easter Jeep Safari. I know I'll be there this year. So we'll definitely stop by
Heck yeah.
when we're in town.
We'll be there.
Maybe we'll get out wheeling sometime
There
this
you go.
year at some point.
I usually got to come to Sand Hollow to wheel with you.
Yeah, that's usually seems like what happens.
Because if I'm ever in Moab, I'm usually working.
I know. This year we're actually going to Camp Trail Hero to network, and kind of trying to build out this channel a little bit. And we're doing a bunch of stuff like that. It's right before. So I'm leaving on like the 25th, I'm leaving Salt Lake, going to St. George, and then on the 29th we're going to Moab. And then so from the 25th to the 4th, I'm going to be gone living in my RV.
Nice.
It'll be cool, and we can build the channel out and hopefully get some off-road content, some wheeling. And
seems like the only time I get a wheel with you is when you go wheeling with Jesse.
That does seem to happen a lot.
Because then I got to go.
There's something broken.
Yeah, there's something broken. Call Rory.
And then it's like, oh, you want a wheel now that we're fixed? Sure, why not?
Love you, Jesse.
Okay, well, thanks for watching. Share, subscribe, and like. And
don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
That's right. See?
Smash that notification bell.
Dum 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 dum.